do it in a cascading motion. So it's a long, if you haven't joined me before, last week we did this flower. This week we're going to paint this flower. So it's actually one that kind of cascades down. So if you're looking for the template that I use, you can get that on my Etsy shop, or if you go to paintonthepalette.com and click on the video that's there, this template where you can trace it and get the study that we're going to create, you can get that there for like 10 bucks. Otherwise, you can draw this yourself or just kind of follow along. There's the beauty of drawing flowers is it doesn't require perfection. Okay, it's not like people's face or anything. This is a nice pretty flower that petals can vary and so on. But again, if you want the template, you can certainly go to my Etsy shop or paintonthepalette.com. All right, so with that, we're gonna get our palette set up here in a minute. In the meantime, let's go to the intro. So welcome back, and what we have here is, this is again what we painted last time. So if you're looking for this particular painting, you go to paintonthepalette.com, or you can go stephanieweaverartist.com/art classes, and you'll find your way to this particular tutorial. So what we're going to do today is this one. So you'll notice I have a kind of setup here where you are able to see what we're going to paint, and then you see me, hi, down in the corner, and then you also see my palette here. So everything is live and interactive that you'll be participating in. So you can paint along. If you're watching this live, you can paint along with me, or you just pause and paint at your leisure. So a couple things. One, I don't normally sit with my canvas in my lap, but because we are painting something like this and like this, I am very controlled. I don't want to get it into the white of the areas, just because I don't want to paint everything white again. And by keeping things nice and controlled, it's just, you know, a more effective use of my time to not paint everything white around it. So, and these will eventually end up on pillows and iPhone cases. I'm not really sure. So I want to keep it nice and simple and pretty and clean. So that's what I'm working towards. Okay. So let's go ahead and talk about our palette setup over here. All right. So what we have, and you're just going to see, there you go. Now you know, and see the floor. Okay. So what we have over here on our palette is our standard palette setup, and you'll find that this is different for every teacher, and for me, this is how I set it up every single time. So I've always got my black, whether it's Mars black, lamp blacks, ivory black, doesn't matter to me which black you choose. And then we've got ultramarine blue, cobalt blue, sap green, alizarin crimson, burnt umber, burnt sienna, cadmium orange, yellow ochre, and cadmium medium yellow. And you'll notice I've got some other colors on my panel here, and that's because I just painted what we did last week over here, and I just haven't gotten rid of the paint because, you know, this is a tempered glass, and what happens with the tempered glass is I can stick this in the freezer and these paints will stick. Like, they'll just stay really, really well, and I can reuse them. So for example, this one, see how mixable that still is? And that was from, what, last Thursday? So it's lasted a whole week. It's pretty good. Now, not every color does that. Not every color actually lasts like a week, even if you stick it in the freezer. Like my burnt umber up here, I just put this down this morning because burnt umber just dries so quickly. So does burnt sienna, it dries super quickly. But all those colors, the yellow, radiant yellow, cadmium yellow light, red light, and naphthol red, they're still usable. So I don't want to get rid of them just yet. But I know I'm pretty sure I'm not going to use them in today's painting. So, but I do know the two additional colors that I'm going to use in today's painting is Rose Deep and Venetian Red. And I'll be mixing those with other colors here in a second to get the look that I want from here. Can you see that? Yeah, these colors. Okay, and then these colors over here, you can also ignore those. Those are for my big lion painting that I worked on last night, and I just don't want to get rid of them because they're easy for me to color match if I still have them on the side. So anyway, okay, let's get to mixing our colors. All right, so I am going to set up a couple of these colors, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them into the medium tone. So I know that, you know, I see like a, probably right about here, that's a nice medium tone, right? And then we've got, like, this is more pinky, and let's see, and this is really, I see some browns in there and stuff. So anyway, I'm going to grab my Venetian Red. I'm going to start with Venetian Red. Venetian Red is a fabulous color to use if you're going to be painting people's lips, and even using a little bit on dogs' noses. I'm going to add some white to it. Yeah, look at that. See how deep that red that matches? That's Venetian Red and a little bit of titanium white. Beautiful, beautiful color. Love that color. All right. So now I'm going to make a variation of that. I'm going to pull some off to the side. And I am wiping my palette knife off in between. And I'm going to go a little bit lighter. So I've got a nice dollop, about a half a coffee bean size of titanium white again. You can probably see why this makes such a pretty color for lips and such. Okay, so that's a medium tone. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and let me grab less of that. A little of some of these goes a really, really long way. So I'm probably going to need more titanium white out. This makes a beautiful pink. Just beautiful. Okay. I think what I might do is pull some of that to the side. And I'm going to grab a little bit of this Venetian Red. I'm going to tone that down a little bit because it's such a vibrant pink, and I don't really want that vibrant of pink just yet. Grab a little bit more. Oh, that makes a nice, pretty, deep rose color. Oh, let me get some more titanium white. Okay, and back, titanium white. Titanium white, you can put a nice big dollop of that out, and if you use the Gamblin products, they actually last a long time, so you're not going to waste a lot there. Even if you paint maybe only once a week, you're not going to waste a lot. There we go. So what I'm doing is I'm really just creating piles of paint so that I can quickly grab the color that I want. And so, and I always do it in a particular order, because I know I say this a lot, is that they're basically like piano keys. I know where my notes are all the time. And I keep my piles like dark, or, you know, darkest, medium, light, and so on, and move on to that. So that way I just know where everything is. And instead, because I know I see some of my students, they've got like piles everywhere and they have no idea. I'm like, what color did you use here? And they go, I think that one. I'm like, and so it's just a more efficient use of your time if you start like, you know, designating sections like that, and you start getting a little bit, I'd say almost obsessive about it. I'm not really that obsessive, but you know, Can be. Okay, so I think we got some good colors to start with here. So I'm gonna go ahead and let's start painting. Now, I'm gonna have a seat over here. I am gonna throw on my hat. So for those of you who have seen some of my videos before, I do like to wear hats because I don't like hair on my face when I'm painting. And so here we go. Alright, I'm ready. Okay, I got my painting hat on, know what I mean? Alright. Okay, so got my reference photo. I'm gonna be looking at this. And the first thing I'm gonna do is really kind of focus on the darks. Now, because I am right-handed, I am going to start from left and move to right. I will also say that when I generally do paintings, I paint all over. I don't necessarily focus on one area. But because, like I said, I'm keeping very controlled along the path, and I know my hand moves right to left, no, it moves from left to right, that I need to keep this area relatively clean and make sure that my hand doesn't touch it. Okay, so I'm going to start up here. Alright, some of the brushes that I will be using. Let me get my Gamsol ready. I am a fan of the synthetic brushes, and the reason why is they keep their shape really well, and then also they are relatively easy to clean for whatever reason. So I do have these Escodas. These are also some of my favorites. Escoda number 14, and you'll see me use these a lot. Escoda number 14 and Escoda number 4. And then I also use some mop brushes. Like this is actually a watercolor brush, but I use it as a mop brush. So it works. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to start in the dark folds. Let me put on my glasses. Get a little Gamsol on here. Gamsol just kind of wets the brush bristles so that the paint can help move a little bit more easily. There we go. Now it's moving. Plus, I want to keep the first layer pretty thin. The other reason I have this in my lap is so that I can easily turn it around like this. My easel, everything's pretty stable, and you can't necessarily rotate it on its corner, but with this I can easily rotate it all the way around. And see how I'm just kind of grabbing from my notes and just kind of filling in what I see. I think I might add a touch of alizarin crimson. Alizarin crimson will help make this just a little bit more deep. I might grab a little bit of the ultramarine blue. Just a tiny touch, because I want to exaggerate the depth that we see in here. Okay. Alright. I'm going to start getting a little bit more loose now with my paint strokes, just because I can go in here and really add in the definition later. So I'm using kind of a lighter tone. And I might lighten this up even more right here. The other thing I like that's going on right here. As you can see how I've got different colors. I've got different colors on my brush, and that was unintentional, but by just placing it down, pulling it over, it's creating those striations that you're going to see in flowers. That's pretty cool. Another thing I like about these Escoda brushes, well, this particular one is a filbert, so you can see it's kind of rounded, and that way I can place it down and just spin it. I'll make that a little darker. There we go. I'm just moving my table closer to me. Alright. Okay. I'm going to soften some of this just a touch. And really start getting those medium to light tones. So what I'm doing is I'm pushing and pulling the dark into the light and creating those subtle variations from light to dark. I'm going to come back to that one. I'm going to let the paint settle just a little bit, and then I'll add in some more highlights and darks with a smaller brush. Alright, now I'm going to move on to the second one. You'll notice it's a lot lighter. You can see it in here. See how much lighter this one is? So I'm going to be adding some more white, and I actually see a little hints of, so if you look here, I see little hints of blue and little hints of yellow. So I might get a really, really, really whitish pink here and add in flecks of yellow. So I'm going to go ahead and pull out a nice pile over here. I'm going to grab some of this. Okay, that's a nice light. And then I'm going to add a touch of, when I say touch, I mean just a touch. That's how small of a touch. And it's got a hair on it. I have dogs, so we have hair. Anyway, you see it's like not even a quarter of a pinhead. I'm going to add a little bit of that. And a little more white, because that's a little more blue than I want. There we go. That's better. Okay, and I'm going to do the same with a little hint of yellow. Grab that. And I'm going to grab some of this radiant yellow. I didn't think I'd use it, but I am. So I grabbed a little bit of the radiant yellow. Ooh, look how pretty. So excited. Did I burn? What's with all the hair? So pretty much, if you ever get an original painting from me, there's either dog hair in it or brush hair. It just happens. So, all you animal people, you feel me? Alright, here we go. So I'm going to work on this. And so I'm just going to lay down the basic color that I see, and then I'm going to start refining my petals. what we're doing is we're essentially blocking in the color that we see. This particular one I did have to draw twice because I wasn't happy the first time with the layout, so I am going to have to paint the white background in this one, which I'm not too pleased about, but you know, crap happens. Okay, so I got all the basic colors that I see in there. Now I'm going to start refining it a little bit. I'm going to grab a little bit of this blue and some of the burnt umber and some of this pink. And a little touch more of the blue. What I'm doing is kind of creating a little bit of a warm, a little bit of a cool pink for the shadow. It's right in here. I'm not so worried about the stem just yet. I'll take care of that later. Alright, I've locked in the colors that I saw, and now I'm going to take a dry brush and I'm going to blend the colors a bit. And wipe it off in between so we're not moving around too much paint. Okay. I'm going to move back to this flower up here, and I'm going to start kind of refining that one a little bit more before I move any further. Now, if you are wondering, so I actually applied a fixative. It's called Workable Fixative. to my drawing, so it's not actually moving the graphite around. I don't have any on my finger, but you can get that from like Hobby Lobby, Michael's, or even online. It's a workable fixative. It's great stuff. Alizarin crimson into that, and burnt umber. I'm just going to kind of set back one length a little bit under here, or one petal. Because this one actually has a petal that's jutting out in front of it. So I'm going to set this one back underneath it. There we go. Alright, now I'm going to show you something else. So I'm actually going to take my small brush, clean it up really well, and we are going to take some Gamsol and wipe away some highlights. So I'm going to take a clean brush, wipe it off just a little bit, so like that, wipe it off just a little bit, and I'm going to pull out some highlights. So like there's this petal here, it's got some highlights here. So it helps me redefine the shape. And I'm just wiggling it up. Now I will go back over this with a little bit of titanium white here later. This helps me again keep the paint nice and thin so that it'll dry quickly. And I like how by keeping the paint thin and applying thin layers, how it'll appear to glow. I'm going to do the same on this other flower. The other thing that I'm doing is in my initial paint layer, it's pretty thin because I want to make sure that I'm following the principle of fat over thin. And I spoke about that a little bit in the first video. So basically what it is fat versus fat over thin is each one of these paints comes with linseed oil already built into it. It's the medium that we use in our paints, linseed oil, and it's the fat of the pigment. And so the more paint that you use, in essence, the more fat that you use. So if you are using fat over thin, it allows everything to kind of dry at basically the same rate, or not, I shouldn't say that. It allows things to dry appropriately. So the thin is going to dry faster, and then when you add fat on top of it, it's going to dry slower. So if you were to do the reverse, where you apply fat first and then a thin paint over it, the fat is going to take longer to dry, and that's going to cause that thin layer to crack. And that's how paintings crack. So we want to make sure that we follow that basic principle, is fat over thin. Just kind of blending that a little bit. Okay. And this leaf or petal is really kind of cool in that it flips up right there and then tilts over. I like that petal. Okay, and then we have this one. I will also say that nobody else is really going to ever see your painting and then compare it to the actual picture like I'm doing right now. This morning I'm a little bit uptight, so I am, you know, making sure I get every petal type of thing. I will get over that, I promise. It's a nice thing about these little daily paintings is it does help you loosen up. So when you get to the other paintings that you're working on, you're not so focused on every single little detail, like what I'm doing right now, which is, I'm already exhausting myself. Okay. Okay. Blend that just a little bit. And a little bit of ultramarine blue. Just kind of want to set this back underneath here a little bit. And same with that one. Okay. Moving right along, we'll come down to this one. Switching back to my big brush, and this is one that's got a lot of, I don't know if you can see this, but it's got a lot of the same colors that I see in here. A little bit of peachy. Alright, so I'm going to start on the inside of the cup and block that in. So I'm using the lighter Venetian red and white mixture that I created. And I'm going way darker than what I see in the picture. I'm going to have to lighten that up. So what I'm doing is I'm going around all the petals and just pulling in the color, the dark color that I see. Okay, back to, this is the way it is. So I've got my petal coming in here. And that petal and this petal. Okay, alright, I'm going to start lightening this up. So I'm going to actually use a little bit of medium because the paint's not really moving as easily as I'd like it to. So I actually grabbed a little bit of Neo McGill. Neo McGill is this stuff right here. Neo McGill. I use this for glazing. It's great for glazing if I want to keep things nice and thin. And also helps my paint move. Okay, that's a nice blob. Not quite a flower yet, but it's a nice blob. Okay. Alright. I see some yellow in here. Let's see some blue right here. A little bit more white. And then just kind of blend this a little bit. Keep my paints nice and thin. Nice transition between colors. Okay. Paper towel. Okay. Let's start adding a little bit of richness to this in detail. I'm going to go right to the center. And right on the cup of it. Start defining the darks a little bit better. Got something going on here I don't like. I don't like how this petal is like really set back dark. So I'm going to lighten that up, pulling off some of the paint with my Gamsol. Gamsol is a brush cleaner. It's mineral spirits essentially, so we don't want to use turpentine. Back in the day, that's what everybody used, turpentine. And it's not exactly good for you. So I know on this painting, even though I don't want to paint in white on the background, I know I'm going to have to. So I wouldn't be too like uptight about it because I'm going to have to, because I've already drawn over it and then I erased it, and so you can see some of the marks behind it. I don't like that. So I'm going to have to straighten things up. Like this particular thing I don't like, so I will fix that when I paint it white. So I want this one to actually kind of curve in right about there. Yeah. And that one curved out. Might be able to fix it with a leaf. That's what I'm thinking. So what I'm doing is I'm thinking about the curvature of the cup. And so I'm moving my brush strokes in the direction of the curves. A little bit of lights down in here. Now, I'll also say that everybody sees color just a little bit different. So if you don't see these colors, you mix the colors that you see. Hidden darkened petal under here. Use some of that color over here. Okay. Kind of stippling my brush just a little bit so that I can blend these in without making those blending strokes, but rather I just want it to have all other types of marks. Okay, I'm going to move back to these over here. They've kind of settled a little bit. Maybe, maybe not. Yeah, sure. Because I would like something to look finished. So I'm going to go back up here and add in the highlights right there. And it's got another highlight right here. And gently pull that color down. And now is about where I'm going to start really deviating from the pictures when I start adding in these details, because I'm going to add in the petals that I see and the lights and darks that I see, thinking about the direction of the light. So the direction of the light for this is it's coming like this, right? So I'm going to think about, well, these up here should be hitting some light right on, maybe on that petal right there. Okay, the light's coming from this direction, this petal is going to be getting light. That one's in shadow. I'm going to add some more light to this. Right up here. Right there. Okay. This one's getting quite a bit of light, so I'm going to add to that one. Before I get to that, I'm going to darken up this other one just a little bit. Right here. Now this particular flower has a lot of white to it, or a lot of light. So I'm going to start really accentuating that. All I have on my brush is some of the titanium white and some of this blue. not used to sitting down this long. Usually I stand paint. But it's not liking it. Okay. Yep, this is live and unscripted. Okay. Okay, I am going to come back to those because they're just not popping like I want. I want pop. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to come back to this right here, and I'm going to work on him because this is going to be a lot lighter than what's next to it. So I want to focus on what's next to it, so I understand like how dark I want to go. I'm going to grab some of my Venetian red and white mix, and we're going to go right under here. I'm going to add a little bit of ultramarine blue to that because I want it to step back a lot. And I know ultramarine blue is a nice cool color, and it's going to really deepen that section up underneath it, and that's going to make those colors pop. That's what I'm talking about. I'm going to start from the dark and pull in to the light. And again. So this one I'm going to pull halfway because it's a little bit lightens up in the middle. Alright, now I got these stark darks kind of going on behind the scenes there. Now I'm going to really lighten up on the top to pull out that petal. This one's got a little bit of white happening right up in here. So now I'm going to pull that petal forward. I can actually see a little bit in here. Cup. Of the cup. There we go. Good. Darken that up just a touch right in there. Set it back. I'm going to set this one back just a little bit more. Grab some of the ultramarine blue. Right here. Set in shadow. Okay. I'm going to put a shadow under this little fold in the cup. Another little shadow right here. Deepen up this shadow. And the shadow right here. The other thing I'm noticing that I'm doing right now is I am choked up on this paintbrush. Like I am way up here. You know what that means? It means I'm like uptight. So this is the perfect painting to be uptight on because I'm like all hunched over it. This is not normal for me. Like normally I'm standing like way back. I mean you can't paint a painting like the lion in the back and be like uptight on it. So don't take this as normal, but it is something that we do. So it's like, you know how you see like some painters sort of blip, 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 you know, they're all like loose and all that. That doesn't always happen, okay? And not every painter stands, so you don't feel like you have to stand. Now one of the advantages that I have kind of going on right now is I can see what's going on in the camera, so I can see it from a distance. So when you're typically painting, you want to back away from your painting like that frequently, because that way you can see from a distance how it's progressing. If I were to look at this up close, I mean, this is a hot mess really, like up close, but from a distance, it looks great. Like I'm very happy with it. So it's important to take a break, step back, and look at it from a distance. If you don't have a camera like what I have kind of going on right here, is you can take your iPhone or your phone or whatever and take a picture of it, and that's puts you back about like 6 feet from it. So, and that's really helpful to see what it looks like from a distance. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna move on to these petals over here. And these are pretty dark too. And these are all like in shadow. So I just took some of the Venetian red and some ultramarine blue, the mixture that I used, and applied it in the darkest area that I saw. And that's a leaf. These are like little hints of flowers. We don't have to make them look perfect because these are not the flowers of focus. Alright, let's see, where am I at? Okay. I'm just kind of throwing in the colors, locking it in, the general colors that I see. I'm not so worried about petals at this point. I will get those in. It's like a bunch of flowers, so you can't really tell what's what. So you just kind of make it up as you go. Okay. I'll make this into a petal. This one I kind of can't tell what it is in the picture, so I'm going to try and do it. Now this picture I actually took when I was walking around Hobby Lobby, and I had a notepad, like one of the Bristol drawing panels, and drawing pads, Bristol drawing pad. I had one of those in my hand. I was like, oh, let's just take some pictures of some flowers, and I put the Bristol drawing pad behind it, and I'm like, man, these things are awesome, so excited to paint these. So that's what I've been doing for like the last probably about 7-8 paintings. I don't really know how many I've done, but I like them. Now I'm just kind of putting highlights where I think they should be. And creating my own little flowers. Starting to loosen up, so that's good. I like the loosened flowers way better than I like the other ones. Isn't that funny? That's why it's really important to do these like warm-up exercises and daily paintings. And now I'm going in to add yellow because I want yellow. I don't see a lot of yellow in my picture itself, but gosh darn it, I want yellow. I want sunshine. It's bleak. It's rainy outside. It's coronavirus and all that other crap. I want sunshine. So I'm adding yellow. I'll add a little bit of yellow behind this one too. Why not? This little mess bundle, I can't really tell what's what. So what I can do is I added some nice variations of color and everything. So now I'm gonna take a smaller dry brush, and like this is a smaller dry brush and it's been ruined. So I use it to kind of blend things together a little bit. Wiping off in between, and I can create petals just by, you know, kind of looking at the mixture that I put down and find them. There's one behind that one, so I'm going to accentuate this one and then accentuate that one. See what I'm doing? It's looking pretty, guys. At least I think. I like it. So yours is going to look different than mine. You know why? You're different than me. So what I'm trying to teach is the technique, and you know, not necessarily like here's my brush strokes, and I do a lot of squiggles, and that's just what I do. I follow the lines of whatever my subject is. Not everybody does that, and you're going to find your strokes too and what you like to do. And so I definitely encourage that. I don't want you to feel like your work has to look like mine. I want you to feel like you have to use a fan brush to achieve this particular look. You find the brushes that you like, and you use the ones that you like. And that's just something that's going to happen through experimentation. And that's the beauty of these little paintings that we're doing, is you can do them over and over and over. And every time you're going to do something a little bit different. At least I hope you do something a little bit different. And that way you can experiment and play and find what you like and what you don't like. Like, I'm finally loosening up after how long we've been at this? I have no idea. And I'm adding in more colors, and I'm starting to play. That's what this is, man. We are playing with the knowledge of the basic technique, and then we're playing with the colors and an understanding of how the colors interact with each other. So yeah, play, have fun. I'm gonna add a little highlight down in here and do it right here. And mine, they don't really look like the picture, and I'm totally fine with that. Okay, and I am not done. I'm getting pretty satisfied with what's kind of going on here. Let's see, what do I want to do? I'm gonna go ahead and add in the greens, because I think that'll complete like the overall structure of the painting. Okay, I'm gonna grab some of my sap green and yellow ochre and mix a basic color there. And I'm gonna go a lot darker than that. I'm gonna grab some more of those sap green, a little bit of ultramarine blue. Kind of pull that to the side. There we got a nice dark rich green. Okay. All right. We got a little Gamsol. Gamsol is, you know, it's a brush cleaner. It also works as a paint thinner, so it helps me get my paints just a little bit thinner. And underneath here, so here we have a little thing kind of going on here, stem. So that's how I'm doing the stem last. I do the stem last, or the tree limbs last too, in trees, because you're not going to see every single limb in the tree unless it's winter. And then, even then, you kind of want to do indications that there's a limb there. Same applies here. I don't have to show every single stem to show that there are stems at work. I'm giving little hints of them. I can kind of see where everything's going. One of the things I just did there is I pulled my brush, I flattened it and then pulled it straight. Pulling it straight to a nice thin line. I'm going to add a little. He doesn't have one there in the picture, but I think he needed one. So why not? This is actually a little leaf. So like I said, one of the things I do is I zigzag a lot. And that's a great way to create those little lines that are the zigzag of like rose leaves. And then I'm going to darken that up on the edge because I like to, as things go off the page, I like to make them darker. I like giving focus to the center stage almost of what's important, like the eyes. In this case, I wanted this bundle to be more important than everything else. Okay, I'm going to darken that up in there. Might need to get more black. I'm just kind of checking out my painting from a distance. So, what I see is I'm going to darken up this bundle over here just a little bit more. And I'm going to add some more highlights and more details right there. Now I also don't like how I see like a little swoop and a spike right there. One of the things I try to do in my paintings is not see patterns. So like sometimes with leaves and petals, you'll see like 1, 2, 3 petals. I don't want 1, 2, 3. I'd rather have one and maybe like an overlap and then the third one off to the side. So that way, because that's where you see it most of the time in nature. You rarely see 3 perfect petals in a row. So like here I've got it pink, and this one's over it, which is okay. But maybe I can do something more fun with this one. Bring this one out. This one looks too perfect. I don't like it. Meaning perfect means just like a big histogram almost. It's just a big petal. So I can make it more interesting by adding, bring in a fold right here. And this one covers this one. So just raise that one up a little bit. And then because I brought in highlight, I'm going to take in a shadow underneath right here. I don't know why I grabbed that brush for that. I don't like that brush for that. The other one's in my other hand. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to continue that color over in here. Okay. Now maybe what I can do. So right now my paint is it's getting thicker and thicker. Because as I'm adding on what will be the last layer, these are effectively the highlights. And I'm going to go ahead and add in a little stamen that's inside of here. Alright, let's see. What else do I want to do? And darken some stuff up in here. Grab an ultramarine blue and my Venetian red. I'm going to add some touch of that green to it. Really darken some spots up in here. Call out where those petals might be. Another reason I don't often paint with everything in my lap, you're actually hunched over. It's horrible for your back. So definitely it's not something I would recommend doing all the time. Like I said, generally I stand up, I pace a lot, I'll have music going, so I'm like, you know, I'm moving a lot. Definitely makes it more fun. I don't mind sitting down for, like, you know, doing a little bit of watercolor or China painting. And that's what this honestly reminds me a lot of, is China painting. Because I'm leaving the white of the board like you would in China painting. I'm going to darken up that leaf right underneath that petal right there, just a touch, to show A little bit of shadow underneath it. Darkening up some spots a little bit to make the highlights pop a bit more. I'm going to darken up that leaf. Stretch your shoulders. Gotta stretch your shoulders every now and then. Okay. Let's darken up that leaf. Ultramarine blue mixed in with my sap green and a touch of alizarin crimson. That's really going to create a nice dark, almost black color. And I'm going to add just a touch of that alizarin crimson in a couple places. The reason why I'm doing that is alizarin crimson can be a cool color and really help set things back. And I might add just a touch of the ultramarine blue to it. Create a nice pretty purple. And I'm just going to pop that in a couple spots. I'm kind of liking it. Alright, let's see. As you can see, these are really easy to play with. We'll probably continue to play on it with a couple days. Because, I tell you that for bridal bouquet paintings, I spent a lot of time on those things. But this one doesn't have to be picture perfect from the unrecognizable as the bouquet. This is something that I took a picture of and I'm painting for fun. I'm going to add a little bit of blue back into this one. And a little bit of that sap green because it needs more color. It's all bleh. It's all pinky. I like to see a lot of color in flowers. And it's hard, if you ever think of like a yellow rose, there are so many colors rather than just yellow. Well, you guys saw the painting that I did the other day of the calla lily. There are so many colors in there. And that's why we set up a palette like this, so that we can pick and choose from all the colors. We see the basic colors in a color of a rose or a flower, but we can easily add in other colors that we want to see. Okay. Well, I think I'm done with this one. Well, I can always come back to it tomorrow and say, hey, maybe I want to add this, that, and the other. And you can too. That's a really nice thing about oils. And it'll probably still be wet for about another day or so. So even if you wanted to bring in some more colors and manipulate the paint that's already there, you're probably going to be fine. But if you wait longer than that, the best method to paint over it is using some of your Neil McGilt and mix that in a little bit with your paint to create a nice thin layer. And I'll show you that in another time. But Neil McGilt, I'll show you kind of how thin we're talking. So like this, see how thin that is? But you want to do that when it's dry. And that way you won't lose the detail in here, but it's a great way to add like depth into things. Let's see, maybe I can get it in here. Without losing the details. Okay. Well, that's it. So I think that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video of how to paint these little flowers. And then stay tuned for next week when we're gonna paint something else. We might switch to another subject. We will see. Okay, see you guys next week. Until then, stay safe, happy, and healthy. Bye, guys.